We're going to do a step-by-step guide here of how to do splits using TUNECORE. What's up, music meeples? My name is Kendra, and in the game of music marketing, strategy is everything. Let's get into it. Today, we are going to be talking about splits. So let's go into the basics of what splits are and how the heck do you actually implement them. In the music industry, splits refers to splitting the revenue that a song is making. The number one thing that you want to know is that splits are always going to be a percentage allocation. That means that you are going to say this person gets this much percent, this person gets this percent, and basic math, all of those need to add up to 100% of the revenue. Now, there are different types of royalties that you might be splitting with other musicians, with your managers, with your label, with a lot of different industry professionals. So let's take a look at what those are. The first thing is performance royalties. So these are generated when your song is performed live out in the world. So if there is a live performance at a festival, a concert, something like that, you get a performance royalties. Another example of performance royalties is going to be on the radio. If your song is on the radio, that counts as a performance. It's going to be paid out through your PRO. In order to collect these, you do need to register with a PRO, a performance rights organization. Now, I have a separate video all about PROs. We don't need to get into the details of that. However, you will need to make sure that you are aware that within performances, usually there's going to be a specific split between the artist and the publisher. If you want to know more about that specific split, just check out my other video on my channel all about PROs. Performance royalties, that's the first thing that you're going to come across where you will need to split your revenue. Let's look at another one. Mechanical royalties. Now, this is becoming a little bit outdated, a little bit tricky, but it is the physical sale of the music. So a CD, vinyl, that is going to generate mechanical royalties. Think of mechanical as like a machine. It's like hands-on. The mechanical royalties for the physical sales of the music. Now, even though mechanical royalties really means like the physical sale, these days, as the industry is changing, a digital download also counts as a mechanical royalty. Like they are taking that music from the cloud, from the internet, and they are physically moving it onto their device. They are downloading it. That counts as a mechanical transaction and it earns mechanical royalties. So we have the first two, our performance royalties and our mechanical royalties. There is a third one that you might need to split, and that is sync licensing royalties. Sync licensing refers to when your song is used in a video. So that could be in a commercial, it could be used on a Netflix show or a documentary or something like that, a movie, any of those things. If your song is used in a film of some sort, that filmmaker needs to get a sync license. Then, whenever that song is played, it is paid out through, I believe, mostly through the performance rights organization as well. And there are sync royalties that you will then split among all of the parties that helped create the music. One of the most common people that an artist needs to split their revenue with is the producer of the album, the producer of the tracks. Often that will be like a 70-30 percentage, so the artist will get 70% and the producer will get 30%. In each album, there's going to be that artist and producer. Now, if you are very independent, just recording things at home, you're just going to really be able to keep 100%. It's only when you start working with other people, hiring more people to work on your music, that you really need to start learning about the appropriate way to do splits. Now, here's another one that's very common and very tricky. Band members. If you have a band of 6 people, you need to split the revenue among those 6 people. And you might also have the producer that worked on the album. So this is where things start to get really complicated. If you have multiple band members, it's not just a solo artist, you will need to organize splits of the revenue, of the royalties to each member of the band. And you need to have a contract ahead of time to specify what percentage each band member gets. These can change a little bit based on some complicated factors. For example, if one band member wrote the song, but all 5 performed it, does the person who wrote it get a higher percentage? it's something you need to talk about and it gets very tricky. So yes, you need to have these conversations before the song is released. Another example of a common split is if there is a separate songwriter. So often artists will perform songs that were written by somebody else. And so that songwriter is going to get a split, a cut of the revenue, and then the artist or the vocalist or performer is going to get their own split of the revenue. In addition to songwriters, there's also the publisher who helped release and do all the business side of the song. Okay, are you following me so far? So this is why splits can be so complicated. I would say it's one of the most complicated things that independent musicians are working through. Not only how to plan them out ahead of time, but how to actually then allocate the money to the proper parties. Let's go over some examples of what splits look like. So imagine a song with the following contributors and splits. You've got your lead artist on the track. They're gonna get 50%. Then you have the producer. Let's give them 20%. After that, you have the songwriter, separate from the artist in this case, we're gonna give them 15%. And let's say there's a featured artist on the track, they are gonna get 15% as well. So here we have the breakdown. 50, 20, 15, 15. We have 4 different people getting money off of one track. So let's say that song makes $1,000. The lead artist is going to get $500, the producer is going to get $200, and then the songwriter and the featured artist are each going to get $150. Let's talk about splits on TUNECORE a little bit here. TUNECORE does not offer an automatic splits feature like DistroKid does, so it's going to look a little bit different. You will need to manually manage and distribute the proper royalties to each of the collaborators. This is going to be a little bit hands-on, but here's how you do it. First step, agree on the splits. Before you distribute the track, you need to have in writing exactly who is going to get what percentage. When you're allocating these amounts, it should all add up to 100%. Once you have documented, agreed upon those splits, then you can release the track. You're going to upload your track or your album to TUNECORE and distribute the music as normal. You will want to make sure as you go that you are filling in all of the required metadata of the producers, of the songwriters, anybody that needs to be credited. You need to put that in the details as you are uploading the original track. Once the song is live, it's out into the world, you then go on to step 3, which is collecting the royalties. TUNECORE is going to collect the royalties for all of the streams, the digital downloads. It's all going to be collected in that initial account where the song was distributed from. This happens automatically after you distribute. All of the revenue will be paid out into that single account. Then we get to step 4. Which is to track the earnings. So as you go, you need to track how much the song is making. You want to keep track of what's happening. TUNECORE does provide daily reports for you. You can see exactly how much the track is making. Step 5 is going to be to calculate the splits. You already decided ahead of time how much each person is going to get. So now you need to do the math. Let's say your track made $100. You can give 50% to the artist, 30% to the producer, 20% to the songwriter, or whatever it is that you already agreed on. This gets a little tricky because you have to calculate it accurately and you want to have transparency with all of the people involved. So you want to show them what was the total amount of revenue generated in the month. Then go through and calculate, show the percentages. This is the 50% cut that this person will get. This is the so-and-so cut that this person will get. Once it has all been calculated, then you can distribute the royalties. As the primary account holder, you will accept the transfer of the funds into your account, and then you will need to pay out the individuals separately. If you need to do these splits manually, here are some other software options or tools that could help you with this process. Number one is basic accounting software. You could use QuickBooks or Wave to help you keep track of how much revenue is coming in and what percentages are being allocated to different parties. This is really going to help make sure that there's accuracy, that there's a clear record of the entire history of the allocations of revenues. Tool number two is just to use basic spreadsheets. You know, if you are a small company, small label, you're a small artist, and you are not generating a ton of money yet, you might not want to invest in an accounting software, so you can just keep track of things on spreadsheets. You can use Google Sheets or any other program just to keep track of them in a spreadsheet from year to year. Let's go ahead and set up one of these together. You're going to want to record your earnings and splits for each track. Include columns that include the total earnings, each collaborator's percentage that they are getting, and the final amount that each person is owed. Another tool that you're going to want to use is some sort of payment platform. So this could be Venmo or PayPal, some sort of electronic money transfer app that you can easily share the money with each person. Yes, some people might be a little more old school. They might prefer that you write them a check, but honestly, in this day and age, it's just going to be easier to be able to just send it digitally. They get it instantly. You don't have to pay for postage, so it's great. And the other kind of tool that you might want to have is a legal agreement. Now this kind of goes way back to when you were first setting things up, but having a legal agreement, something that you consult with a lawyer on, that is going to have an expense, but if you are generating a lot of revenue on a song, you want to have a legitimate contract to ensure that all of this is agreed upon ahead of time, so that when people later on decide, oh, hey, I should be making more money, they can't just come at you for it. There needs to be a specific agreement in place to protect the person who is managing the revenue. If you are the person who is in charge of keeping track of these splits, here are some tips on exactly how you can keep track of who gets what. First thing, regularly monitor your account. So whichever distribution platform you are using, keep track of it, have a regular schedule of when you check in, when you look at the revenue, and when you record the numbers. You want to have a set place that you are going to keep these records. So for example, I like to work within Google Drive. It is cloud-based, therefore I can access it on any device that has internet, and that way if my hard drive crashes, I don't lose all of the data. One of the things that you can do as well is you can actually share these files with multiple people from Google Drive, but not allow them to edit them. So when you share a spreadsheet with someone in Google Drive, you have the option to let them comment, to let them be a viewer only, or to let them edit. If you are the manager of the account, I highly recommend just allowing them to comment on it. That way, if there's a question, they can just email you, or they can comment right on the spreadsheet, and they can access and see the updated numbers as the revenue is coming in. And there you have it. That is everything you need to know about managing your splits manually.